Hey everyone, welcome to Lost Creek. My name is Scott, and today we're going to continue working on my 1988 Jeep YJ project. The project within a project for today is to figure out a solution for my spare tire, how to mount and carry my spare tire. This Jeep originally came with the stock spare tire carrier that was mounted to the tailgate. That's usually good up to a size 33 tire. I have 33-inch tires, but because of the way that the bumper is built, not a stock bumper, obviously, that spare tire carrier won't work. Well, rather than chopping that thing all up and making it work, I decided to go with a swing-away spare tire carrier that will also hold perhaps a fuel can and a high-lift jack. So in typical fashion, I did not go out and buy a brand new swing away spare tire carrier. I bought one that was in town here on Marketplace or Craigslist for $100. And that needs work, right? It was on a TJ. It's missing some parts. Some of the parts are bad. So I'm going to take this spare tire carrier and I'm going to make it my own. So stick around. Should be a lot of fun. This is my spare tire carrier, my swing-away spare tire carrier. This is the one I got from a guy in town for $100. So this was on a TJ and it was mounted to a bumper. I think somebody built this. I actually don't think this was store-bought. Some of the welds are a little funky, but for the most part, we'll sort that out. So this little platform here, right, and I'll show it to you from the other side, right there, right? And then this mount right here, that is for a high lift jack. So the high lift jack spans the, or kind of diagonally fits on the spare tire carrier. Now, why in the world there is like a hitch carrier? It's like a receiver hitch for like a tow hitch. I mean, look, there's one right there, right? Now, why that's there, I have no idea. That's a very odd thing to have there. So if anybody has an idea of why you would put a receiver at the top of a spare tire carrier, let me know. Okay, so there is the kind of the latch, all right, that holds it in place. I only have half of it, right? I only got this half, so I got to figure that part out. But I got a picture of what the other half is. And here is where the bearing goes, right? This is the pivot. So that's that part there. There's been I already started working on it, but I'm going to tell you why. All right, so this spare tire carrier, that piece that I just showed you where I already started working on it a little bit, that's where the bearing tube, if for lack of a better description, that's where that was. And when I opened it up, it was shot, right? The bearings were trashed. It was rusted together because obviously it had never been serviced. So it was a mess. So I cut that off and I ordered from Amazon a whole entire new kit for the bearings on this, right? They sell them. It's like it's a bearing kit for a swing-away spare tire carrier. It was like $40. So I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to put that back together again. All right, so I've got it kind of mocked up. I've got clamps on it, and I've got some spacers on it with those paint sticks. God, I love paint sticks. So it's centered on the vehicle. Maybe it scooches a little bit to the right. I'll sort that out. That's fine tuning. So I've got it kind of sitting where I want it, and I've got it just as close as I can get it without bumping into anything. But there's some room behind it, but I think that's okay. I think I'm okay with that. I definitely pushed it as far back as I think I can. If anybody can tell me why there's that thing, like I mentioned before there, why is there a 2-inch receiver on the top of that thing? Be interested to know. Maybe I'll stick one of those trucker taillights in there, make it a third brake light or something. If you can believe it, when I paid $100 for this swing-away tire carrier, it came with the high lift jack, and it was mounted right there like that. I actually tried to talk the guy into keeping it, but he wanted to get rid of it with it. So for $100, I got the swing-away spare tire carrier and the jack, and that's exactly where it mounts. So it mounts down here on this plate at an angle, and then it mounts up top here with the through bolt. So, yep. That's the kit right there. So now what do I need to figure out? I need to finish up the pivot, get that all welded in nice and solid, and I need to figure out the latch. And once I've got those things figured out, this is going to work real well. So what I've done is this. So I cut the old piece off that looked like this, okay? That was on here. I cut that off, but I left part of it still on there. The weld was actually really nice on this piece. There are some other welds that I questioned, but this one was actually pretty good. And you can see here, there's the lip for the bearing race, very similar to like in here. So I've already got this figured out where this is going on the position, and then I'm going to use that little cradle, and then I'm going to weld to this tube. That's my plan right now. All right, now what we're going to do is fit the bearings and the post into the tube. Lack of a better. I'm going to put everything together dry right now, simply because it doesn't need. I don't need to have it all greased up. I don't need to put the seals in it because this is all coming apart again. Wait, okay. Let's see here. So if I put that, hello. There you go. And I have to do the same thing here. All right. So, right. So you can see now what I was talking about, right? Okay. Castle nut goes on next. I'm not going to put a pin on it. What I want to do is get this pretty stugged up. All right. That's good. All right. So now what I'll do is test fit this. Now that this is on there, right? Again, it's all just dry fit. Now this is on here, I'll go fit it on the Jeep, and then that will determine where this gets welded onto the bumper. I had it pretty close. I mean, I tried to get it as aligned center on the back, but I run into a problem where I'm just touching that bolt, right, with that plate. You know, and if I have it cheated to the driver's side by, I don't know, not even a quarter inch. It's quite, I mean, you can see it here because I'm pointing it out to you, but for the most part, when everything's set on there and the tires on there, you're not even gonna know. So, I mean, I am real close to centered on the Jeep. It's just not right above the trailer hitch. And it's level. I had to shim it up one more paint stick because I wanted to increase that distance right there. That distance right there, right? So I think this is where I want it. This is how I'm going to gauge where that post is, right? Because I can get in there and weld that. But what I want to do is cut a piece out of this bumper so I can sink that pin into the bumper just a little bit. And I think I'll actually get a much better weld. So I'm going to try doing that right now. Put some light down here to see if I could show you what I'm doing. So here's the inside of the bumper again, right? This is where the pin's going to go. You see, I drew 2 lines, and that was on either side of the pin. Now, I think that's wide, so I'm not going to go that wide. I'm actually going to just cheat it to the way inside of those lines and cut a piece out so that I can then just kind of nibble away at it and get that pin to fit in there real nice and tight. And I just finished grinding away at this, and I sank it in probably quarter inch. into that bumper. But you can see now how nice and tight of a weld I'm going to get on that. I just wanted to see if I can prove a point here. If I welded it when it was just sitting there on kind of the face of that bumper, it just wouldn't have come out as well. So this is where I'm at. All right, so I went and installed the bearings and the castle nut and the pin. I shouldn't have put the pin on, but I did anyway. And I greased the bearings with as little grease as I had. I'm going to pack them much, much better when I finalize this thing. But I wanted to be able to put it on and move it around and swing it open and closed and really start to refine the operation of this swing-away tire carrier. But as you can see, right? Super, super, super smooth. Works real, real nice. That came out real well. And now I've just got to put the stop and the latch mechanism in place. And yeah, we're going to be in good shape. Okay, so I took that piece off. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to work on that yet. So the swing out works just fine. Like I said, this is exactly how it's supposed to be. So when you're swinging it back in place, if you don't put a stop, it could actually hit and damage the back of the Jeep or whatever. But point is I need to put a stop on the bumper so that this hits a resting place, and then you've got the latch that will latch it in place, right? And I've got to fab all that up, and I'll put a picture up of what that little piece looks like that I didn't get. But this is what I'm working on now. All right, so what I did was pretty simple. I took a piece of box steel like this, and I made a piece of angle. All right, not real rocket science, but I didn't have an angle, and that was nice thick metal, so I made an angle. I've got a ton of this scrap left over from another project. So I'm going to start out with this piece of angle. I'm going to show you what that'll do. All right, just come over here to the hot piece of metal. Hot piece of metal. Okay, so as this closes, right, this will stop it. Okay, and then I made it longer. As you can see, I made it longer because I will actually put the latch mechanism coming off of that, right? Hey there, guys. Hey, listen, if you dig this kind of content and you're enjoying yourself even just a little bit, do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for updates. You know, it doesn't cost you a penny, but it means absolutely the world to me. All right, so I got my pieces of metal kind of situated here. So I cut this because I think that I need to cap the end of that, right? And then my latch little hooky things will come off of that. Okay, so I needed that. And then as the tire carrier swings in place, this piece of metal wasn't thick enough to make the tire carrier itself level. So I've got these just thick pieces of steel, again, leftovers from a different project, and I'm going to weld those on right there so that the tire carrier, when it is in its closed position, is completely level to the bumper. All right, well, let's kind of recap where I've been because, quite truthfully, I've just been kind of working crazy on this thing and adding pieces here and there and stuff, and I didn't film any of it. So we started out with the angle. Got that. That's good. We added that little piece of spacer, if you will, and added a little metal there, and that lifted the swing out tire carrier up to level. Then I capped it. Then I added another piece of metal on here to bring it further out. And then I used these little fancy thingies that I had left over from another project, and it works just fine. I'll show you. Okay, here's where it is in the position that it's going to sit in, right? So then this bail goes over that. Now, it's not tight. I have to adjust it, but goes over that, and watch this. Bam. Talk about satisfying, right? So I may gusset over here in the corner, but for the most part, all I got to do is adjust this little bit here, and once that locks in, that's not going anywhere. All right, there is the stop and the latch, and I welded it all in, and I want to show you the operation of the door here. So here we go. Boom. And once it goes in, the bail goes over those two little teeth things there, and it's shake that, it's rock solid. Okay, so this right here, this hole right here is where this fuel can mount, right? This is where this existed before, right? So if I put that flat, you can see that it actually obscures the view of my taillight. It's more than I feel comfortable doing, right? So I'm going to move it up to this position here, right? And now you see it's actually above my taillight. And then the fuel can, I mean, is obviously taller. So I'm going to take this, and instead of using a bolt, because I think that's a little weak, I don't know if I really trust that, especially if I'm carrying 5 gallons of fuel. I'm going to take this and weld it right to this frame, right? Weld it all the way around. And then I'm either going to gusset it here with a piece of sheet metal, thicker sheet metal. So I'm going to gusset it here, or I'm going to put another gusset down, like right here. If I've got a piece of pipe, I can put a gusset here as well. So one of the two things, just to carry the weight of the fuel can so that it doesn't fatigue the metal or cause any problems, especially if I'm on trails and stuff. I'd rather not lose a fuel can on the trail. Okay, everything is mocked up. Everything is actually finish welded, but I've put everything on the tire carrier that's going to be on the tire carrier. Obvious number one would be the tire. So this is just bolted on. Everything's ready to go. This was something that I didn't have to touch. I decided that I am not going to drop the tire down a little bit. I'm going to leave it right where it's at, see what I like, and change it later. High lift jack is mounted here. And then obviously the fuel can that we just finished mounting, we just created the support for, that's all on and secured. So this is the configuration. I'm actually pretty pleased with it. This is what I wanted. So now it should just swing open nice and smooth, and it does. Holds all the weight because there's quite a bit of weight on here now. It's going to be quite a bit more weight when the fuel can is full of fuel, but this feels good. It looks good. It swings real nice. I'm very happy with the way this is performing. So, all right, swing that closed, latch it down, and now it's time for paint. All right, guys. Hey, final assembly is complete. This project is done. So I couldn't be more pleased with the outcome of this swing away spare tire carrier. It has all the different things that I wanted for my particular trail rig. This project took about 2 to 3 days over a long weekend, and let's talk about the cost of it. It wasn't overly expensive. We started out with a Facebook Marketplace spare tire carrier find. That was $100, but as you guys saw, that whole bearing assembly and seals and races and whatnot were trashed and had to be replaced. So that was an unexpected cost of about $50 for the replacement kit off of Amazon. So $50, but the outcome of that was I got brand new head tube, brand new seals, brand new bearings. I'm okay with that. So the only other thing that I spent my money on was that jerry can and the jerry can holder, also on Amazon. I think for the both of them it was about $80, but some pretty good kind of cheap insurance, if you will. These YJs do not get great fuel mileage, and if you're up on a trail all day, having an extra 5 gallons of gas on you, that's kind of a nice little insurance policy to have. So I think that's worthwhile, a good investment. So the only other money I spent on this particular project was, some welding wire, maybe a cutting disc, and some spray paint. So really, all in all, not an expensive project, but I think that the outcome itself, it was worth it to me. I got exactly what I wanted. There was some extra work doing some fabrication to try to figure out how to make that spare tire carrier fit to my existing bumper. But it was a lot of fun. It was a good project. So anyways, thanks for hanging out with me on this episode of Lost Creek. I hope you guys enjoyed the content, and I hope I see you back again soon. We've got another project coming up next week where we are going to finish the front axle swap, and that should be a lot of fun. I hope to see you there. Thanks again for coming.